So, welcome to this particular article. I wanted to cover this one, and this one is very interesting in terms of its topic: why talented people don't use their strengths. And I thought this was interesting because normally we may think that the people who don't use their strengths are those who may lack talent or who don't believe in their talent. And this is a unique perspective, and I think it's worth giving attention to, especially if those of us out there do feel that we do have a certain level degree of talent. And without going too deep into this, we're talking about talent as in capacities that are natural, in the sense that it doesn't take much to express them. Someone who may be talented in music has the characteristics, the expressed traits, the genetic expression that enable one to perform music very well. So it's not about the music. Talent is about capacity and particular characteristics, particular qualities or abilities that collectively, when placed in a profession, enable the individual to perform at a very high level with not minimal effort, but less effort than it might take someone whose talent is not expressed. A little deeper into talent, where does talent come from? Talent comes from the genes, of course. And if we look into the word gene, we are also looking into the word gene. We are also looking into the word genie. And so it's clear that there is a metaphysical, there's a spiritual component to the expression of talents. We'll save the discussion on the nature and origin of talents for another conversation, but know that talent is expressed through spiritual means. They are endowments through the spirit and certain frequencies of the spirit. So let's continue. We often undervalue what we inherently do well. Very unique approach, right? Often undervalue what we inherently do well can also coincide with undervaluing things that come easy to us, or people that are that come to us, or people who are inherently in our lives. We may tend to undervalue them, right, or take them for granted, as others say. So you get this symbolism here with the whistle, and this looks like an ant. An ant. I forget what you call these. An anteater. There may be a more technical term for it, but this is the anteater, and the anteater tends to eat the ants, right? This is a natural talent, natural capacity of the ant, and you can see that there are so many of these ants. They are in abundance, and they just flow right to the anteater's tongue, right? This is a talent that the anteater has. So to the outside world, right? A non-anteater, this might be unique. This may look like it's a special talent or a special ability. But to the anteater, this is just an everyday thing. And so perhaps in the anteater's world, hey, they're just eating ants and it's not really anything special. But as we scroll down, it gets into a little bit more of detail. This is about sports. And so we can talk about sports too, sports as having physical talents. And if we want to make some further analysis, right, we can say that a person is athletically talented. But what does that mean? It means that that individual may have the speed, it may have the strength, may have the dexterity, may have the body mind coordination that makes one more suitable than the usual for expression in a particular sport. And so if we put someone who is, let's say, maybe 5'4", right? 5'4", and very fast and very muscular, right? Lots of agility, lots of physical endurance. that individual might not be the ideal swimmer, right? Because the swimmer, the body build and the capacities for the swimmer differ in terms of performance, what's really needed. So it's not that that individual is athletic for every single sport. That individual is primed for particular expressions in a particular sport. There may be those out there who are renaissance athletes in a way, where there may be skill sets for a number of sports manifested, right? So maybe basketball, baseball, maybe football, maybe tennis, maybe golf, maybe track and field, right? It is quite possible that an individual can have a very large amount of manifested spiritual capacities through the body to be a well-rounded athlete. Entirely possible, right? So as this article continues, it's talking, still about sports case study. And then we have this quote here: play to the strengths. Experts have long encouraged people to play to their strengths. And why wouldn't we want to flex our strongest muscle? But based on this writer's observations, this is easier said than done, not because it's hard to identify what we're good at, according to this author, but because we often undervalue what we inherently do well. So it is the concept of strengthening the weakness or getting better at something that we are not that good at to the neglect of what we are already good at. And so it's important to think in a holistic perspective. When I say holistic, I mean left brain and right brain combined, synthesized thinking. So this is different from a binary choice. It is not play to the strengths to the neglect of the weakness or what needs to improve. It is improve and simultaneously max out the strengths. It's both. It goes on to say, often our superpowers are things we do effortlessly, as we've described earlier, almost reflexively, like breathing. When a boss identifies these talents and asks you to do something that uses your superpower, you may think, but that's so easy. It's too easy. It may feel that your boss doesn't trust you to take on a more challenging assignment or otherwise doesn't value you because you don't value your innate talents as much as you do the skills that have been hard won. So because there's a deception here, right? It's a seduction actually. And that seduction is pride. It is simultaneously sloth or laziness. Laziness kicking in because we can already do the thing very well. And that capacity to want to work hard and earn something, quote unquote, is misdirected in this kind of experience because we then neglect the talent that could actually help us acquire more accolades, so more success, more elevation. But we neglect those to go for the thing that is much tougher because we then feel we are in a place where we are, quote unquote, earning it more, right? We're working harder. But what the challenge is here is to get out of that seduction and apply that same determination and that same grit to the talent, so that the talent is, it's like a child. It needs nurturing. It needs love and attention. It needs also tough love. It needs discipline. It needs guidance. It needs wisdom. So that the talent needs to be grown. It is there. It is present. It is awakened. As I go a bit deeper into talent, it is guided by an angel, right? It's an angel. Right? Genes, jinn, genie, angel, right? Similar intonation. When we say someone is talented, we say they are blessed, right? They are blessed. Blessed by what, right? Blessed by the spirit, blessed by the angel governing the talent. As a leader, this writer says, the challenge is not only to spot talent, but also to convince your people that you value their talents and that they should too. This is how you start to build a team of employees who bring their superpowers to work. And so this comes from an organizational perspective. which is valid. It's important because an organization, as an organism, needs to do something very well. It needs to do a lot of some things very well in order to stay functioning, right, and to thrive. In order to compete well, it needs to have its niche, and it needs to know what it is. It's quote unquote its holistic talent, right? It's collective talent, and what how to cultivate that. So as we look at the organism, we look at the functions in the organism, and the organs in the nervous system, and all the bones and the ligaments and the muscles. So everything contributing to that organism. In this case, the organization. So from a career perspective, an organizational perspective, this is very important. Knowing what your talents are within a company and how to execute, cultivate them. So these are some ways to identify strengths, right? What exasperates you? These are question prompts, and the idea of a question. As we go into the metaphysics of a question is like an arrow. The question is a focus point. It's a way of tuning the mind to a particular end or intention. When there is no question, the mind may sort of be scattered, if we want to use that word, but we could say the mind is blank, right? Like a blank slate. If you've ever seen those Buddha sand walls, they're toys. I don't want to say a toy, but you can buy them from the shop, and they're very small, and it's like a blank slate, and the purpose of it is to draw on it, and it will eventually disappear. And so it allows the user to focus an intent for a period of time, to initiate the creation on that surface, and then it disappears on its own, to train the mind to let go and to go back to the state of void, as we would also call it, the state of wuji, right? This state of nothingness, right? Of no mind, so to speak. So in interplay, right? The question is an interplay. You ask the question, and your body, because the body has knowledge, the body has information in it. You ask a question to yourself, and if your channel, so to speak, is clear, the information that moves through your body is clear for your ability, you can perceive that information, then you will have an answer to that question. This gets into some really deep science of know thyself, where you can reach a point where you can just ask yourself questions. Your reliance on external validation begins to dissipate. You may research here and there, right? You're looking for confirmation, right, of your ideas. You're still being a scientist, right, a spiritual scientist, and looking for further evidence, right, to support the information that's coming from you. But ultimately, your system, your own subconscious, your own spirit has that truth in you. You just get better at being able to perceive it over time with practice. We'll leave that to another video. But what exasperates you? This can be a sign of a skill that comes easily to you, so much so that you get frustrated when it doesn't to others. So assuming that just because you're good at juggling, someone else is supposed to be, and because they are not, you then become angry, or you are affected emotionally. You think they're slow, right? It's not that they're slow, it's that you're really freaking good. Pardon me, there may be some noise outside. There are trucks passing by. What compliments do you dismiss? Oh, when we're inherently good at something, we tend to downplay it. Oh, it was nothing, we say. This may be quite common. Reflect on your own experience. And maybe it was nothing to us, but it meant something to another person, which is why they're thanking you. Notice these moments. They can point to strengths that you underrate in yourself, but are valuable to others, right? So this author is basically saying, if we receive a compliment, rather than going the route of extreme humility, because that's not even humility in a way, that's almost self-depreciation, acknowledge that that individual may not be manifesting the same or similar talent as you, right? And when they acknowledge it, they are saying namaste in a way, right? They see you, they recognize you, they acknowledge you, and that manifestation, that expression that you bring. Next, what do you think about when you have nothing to think about, right? This is sort of a subconscious tuner or recognition, because when that the mind is in that state of the nothingness again, right? We're going back to that void. Your mind tends to go towards what its inherent interest is, right? This is a very interesting point here. In group settings, this author says, I'll also ask people why they hired so and so, what that person's genius is. Rarely is this skill listed on their resume, and why not? Because if you've made the connection here, it's because it's undervalued. It's undervalued. They likely don't think that it's important enough to include on a document like the resume. And if it's not on the resume, that means every time that person ships out the resume, that means that it is not being seen, right? It's not being acknowledged. Every time that person has an interview, because it's not on the resume, then it may not come up in discussion because the interviewer is only going by what they have received in the resume and other portfolio matters, right? So give it the space that it deserves. As we continue down here, there are different types of assessments that people can take. There's your strengths finder, there's your Myers-Briggs, there's all sorts of tests that you can take. But you really don't have to do that. You can deploy certain methods of self-observation, time and meditation, and using the power of questions to arrive at your own understanding of know thyself, so that you can pinpoint what those talents are. So as this goes on, it just really comes down to these questions. Are we playing to our strengths? When people feel strong, they're willing to venture into new territory, right? We're able to take risks because we kind of have a weapon there, right? We know what our tools are. And so we know what our tools are, that means we're prepared. And when we're prepared, that means we have knowledge. And what quells fear, what quells concern is not so much safety, but it is knowledge. It is knowledge of how something works, the knowledge of how we work, and the knowledge that we are a being capable of handling whatever situation that comes our way. So just wanted to cover this. This was published Harvard Business Review, but back in 2018. Either way, I still thought it was a unique perspective on talent. So many spaces that we can go into regarding this word. Remember, talent is inherent. Talent is something that is quote unquote gifted, right? And we go back to these terms again. We are blessed. We are endowed, right? Inherent coming from it, or related to heredity, which relates to genes, genetics, genie, right? All related. Be well.